You've heard it mentioned before, and you're hearing it mentioned now. Maybe not, alarm bells ringing or anything, but people are starting to talk about it because it's coming. It's coming. Whether you think about it or not right now, whether your news source is talking about it or not, it is coming. That's right. I'm talking about a government shutdown. Congress has until September 30th to pass a bill that will essentially set the budget for the next fiscal year. The last time that happened was in 2019 when Trump was demanding that the wall be a part of the budget, that the money for the wall be a part of the budget.
None of us have said.
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on my...
You said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And
We
I am
disagree.
proud, and I'll
We
tell you what,
disagree.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country.
Every year it seems that, there's arguments and threats and there's even pushes for a government shutdown. What's pretty much going on right now is nothing. I say nothing. The Senate has passed all of its bills regarding appropriations. The House, however, has only passed 1 out of 12. By this time of year, there's at least, maybe 3, maybe 4 already passed, and that's why you usually hear about a possible government shutdown. But the House appropriations is so far behind right now that it's not sounding like it's possible, but it's feeling like it's probable. About 2 weeks ago, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries held one of his weekly news conferences where he pretty much just kind of talks about what's going on in Congress, discusses the politics of what's going on, like what's happening. It's pretty much like this is his version. Kevin McCarthy does it, Chuck Schumer does it, Mitch McConnell does it. All the leadership does it. But 2 weeks ago, Hakeem Jeffries held a news conference where he actually had a question about appropriations, had a question about what's happening with it. Why are these bills not getting passed?
Finding a bipartisan path forward. But the extreme MAGA Republicans have decided they want to march the country toward another dangerous and dysfunctional government shutdown. Because the extreme MAGA Republicans have decided that they're either going to be successful in jamming their right-wing ideology down the throats of the American people, including by bullying the LGBTQ plus community and marching toward a nationwide abortion ban, or the country is going to be forced to endure a government shutdown. That is what the brokenness of the appropriations process has made clear over the last several weeks, because this is a Republican majority not interested in doing anything to make life better for everyday Americans.
Wow, that's crazy thinking about a potential shutdown. But you know what's crazier? The fact that most of my viewers are not subscribed. So do you and me both a favor and subscribe. Now, let's get back to the video. Okay, so this is Representative Jeffries, kind of skirting around like the real, issue that's going on. And I would argue it's a real issue. Don't let the air quotes fool you. There's a singular caucus amongst the House Republicans that essentially has the bull of Congress by the horns. I'm talking about the Freedom Caucus. Now, you might remember hearing about the Freedom Caucus, whether it be from Marjorie Taylor Greene getting ousted, or whether it be the what was it, 15 rounds of voting for Kevin McCarthy to become a speaker, because the Freedom Caucus members were holding their votes. They were not voting for him with the rest of the party. Now, the Freedom Caucus is made up of about 41 members of the Republican House. 41 members out of the 222 who are Republican in the House. Now, the Republicans have a 5-seat majority, so it's very slim margins, but there's a 5-vote difference. It's more so that 5 Republicans out of, say these 41 can withhold voting for a bill that the majority of the Republican Party wants. It kind of produces a bit of a problem when it comes to leadership. Speaker McCarthy he's kind of handcuffed to the Freedom Caucus in two aspects. In the first aspect, like I was just talking about, where it only takes 5 members to not vote for a bill, for the bill not to pass. The second thing, in the votes to get Kevin McCarthy into the speakership, it took many rounds because the Freedom Caucus was holding out. They were demanding some changes. They were demanding some rules be set in the next Congress. One of the most important concessions that Speaker McCarthy has made to become the speaker was that any one member can file a motion for a new speaker. Hence the problem. One person out of the 41 members who are very extreme can essentially just, if say they wake up and Speaker McCarthy doesn't say hi to them the right way. I mean, it just takes one to go haywire, one to go off the rails, and Speaker McCarthy loses his speakership, and it would probably be somebody from the Freedom Caucus to replace him. Kevin McCarthy can't do hardly anything. I mean, he is leadership. If he upsets the Freedom Caucus, they can just decide, you know what, let's get a new speaker. And that's what Representative Jeffries is kind of talking about with his press conference. Well, Kevin McCarthy he's talked about appropriations.
But when we had to deal with the debt ceiling, they only allowed us to deal with 11% of the budget. So any time and any single day, can we eliminate some waste and make government more accountable, more efficient, and more effective? We're going to do it. And if we've got to take a couple extra days to go through, it's not till September 30th. We're going to take that opportunity. Because the sad part about it is there's not one Democrat on the other side that wants to help us. All they want to do is spend more money. What was interesting to me is when we went through the debt ceiling, they couldn't tell me $1 in waste.
So yeah, that's Kevin McCarthy talking about the spending, and this was 7 days ago. This was not long ago. 2 weeks ago, you had Hakeem Jeffries talk about how the Freedom Caucus is essentially, not budging, and now you have Kevin McCarthy a week ago pretty much saying, we got the time. We got until September 30th. If it takes a couple extra days, that is him cushioning the blow, because you have these members of Congress who are not voting, not allowing bills to be brought up. The appropriations bills are not being debated. They are not even being negotiated. I have it on good authority that it's pretty much a gridlock between Democrats who want to reallocate funding, they want to shuffle the board a little bit, and Republicans who want to just cut spending. How does that work out? It doesn't. Somebody from some party is going to have to do what you don't anticipate them to do. Meaning, so either you're going to have a Republican sit down with the Democrats and say, okay, how can we fix the spending? How can we focus our spending elsewhere? Or you're going to have a Democrat sit down with the Republicans and say, all right, what can we cut? What can we actually reasonably cut? Could there be better focuses of money? Sure. That's the point of the Democrats. Could there be less money spent? Sure. That's the point of the Republicans. But neither side is willing to budge right now. They are kind of just butting heads. That's the good old classic image of the elephant and the donkey just butting heads, right? But the wild card in this in Congress's stack right now is the Freedom Caucus, is the House Freedom Caucus. You have members of the Freedom Caucus who are not budging, not willing to even think about it. The one I'm choosing to show you from the Freedom Caucus press briefing is Andy Biggs, representative from Arizona. Now, what I want to note is this happened just a few days before Speaker McCarthy's press conference, where he talked about the budget. He talked about the appropriations process. You think about how this has gone, how this is publicly began to be talked about. First, you had Hakeem Jeffries essentially calling out the Freedom Caucus, yes? And then the Freedom Caucus is responding, and then you have Speaker McCarthy kind of backing up the Freedom Caucus here. When it comes to the flow of information, the flow of bringing up a subject into the public eye, I may be wrong, but that tells me a little bit about something about where the real power is lying. So let's listen to what Representative Andy Biggs has to say.
That's what you're looking at. The national debt, which is a threat to our national security for many reasons. and I encourage my colleagues to join me, and I call upon the Speaker to bring my bill, the national debt is a security threat, to the floor. $1.8 trillion more in national debt, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I have staunchly encouraged us to go back to 2019 discretionary levels across the board. Wouldn't it be nice if for just 3 months or 6 months, we didn't spend more than we brought in every month? But on average, we spend about $125 billion more every month than we bring in revenue. And that's even when we had record revenue. It's not a revenue problem here, it is a spending problem.
And so now you're kind of starting to get the picture, I hope. What does this mean for September 30th? Why does September 30th matter? Because that is when we need a new fiscal year plan signed into law. As of July 28th, yes, the Senate has already passed all 12 of their bills, but the House needs to pass 11 more. That is a lot of legislation in such a short amount of time. We are in August now. We are less than 2 months away from meeting that deadline of needing to pass the laws that determine what we can spend. Say we don't, come to an agreement. Congress does not pass an omnibus bill. They don't have everything laid out. They could pass a continuing resolution, which kind of just allocates money to the most important things in government. But that alone, with this non-negotiating tactic that the House Freedom Caucus is taking, could still not really even be a possibility. There is a situation looming where the US government is shutting down again. I feel like it is safe to say that come September 30th, we will not have a bill passed. We will not have appropriations taken care of. And for a time, now I have no idea how long, because it could be a day, could be a week, could be a month, could be longer, could be like 2019 all over again. But I feel it's safe to say that the government will shut down this year. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the video, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Do you think the government's going to shut down this year? Has it even crossed your news station? Tell me. And don't forget, I may be wrong.